So the film starts and we are shown in the year 1995. Here we see four friends who had come to hike in the mountains. One of them is called Paul. This place was very old. Some people of the tribe also see their temples, the things they liked a lot. When she went to the top of a mountain, she heard a strange voice from Paul, which no one else could hear. He followed the voice and moved forward. But then he fell into a big pit made there. His friends also immediately came near the pit. One of Paul's friends goes down the pit with the help of a rope, and he sees that this is a cave. He sees that Paul is sitting there, somewhere lost and chanting mantras. He was looking at a skeleton in front of him, whose size was quite large compared to ordinary skeletons. There were many other small skeletons around that big skeleton, whose size was like ordinary people, and they were all bent in front of that big one. But seeing this, Paul's friend does not understand anything. That's why he went to him. Without hesitating, Paul tells him to stay away from him. If you touch me, you will be ended. But his friend ignores this and picks up Paul on his shoulder and brings him out. He saw a wooden house in front of him, in which they brought Paul. It had started snowing here. That is, these four people could not leave here now. Now leaving one of his friends with Paul, two friends go out to arrange food. Paul was still not in his senses. Paul's friend sees that he has a music instrument in his hand, which his friend starts playing with. After a while, when she comes out, she sees a strange black shadow in the snow, which is moving towards her. Her friend came back home to save her life and closed the door. That shadow also comes to their house and knocks on the door, which scares her a lot, but after a while, she leaves. Now when her friend comes, Paul's friend tells her that I saw a shadow outside. But both say that there is no one outside, but she is still very scared and confused. Now this is their second day here. At night, everyone goes to sleep. But in the middle of the night, Paul wakes up and says something in his friend's ear that had stopped with him. Now as soon as morning comes, they see that Paul is not at home. No one knew where he went, but when they looked outside, Paul's feet had marks on them. That's why they follow the marks and reach Paul, who is sitting on the edge of the cliff. He had the same musical instrument in his hand with which he was playing. Paul's friend gets angry at him that why did you come without telling us? Do you know how worried we were for you? But Paul does not answer but starts reciting mantras. Now as soon as this happens, his friend, in whose ears he had said something, loses his control. She attacks both her friends and ends them. She then starts looking at Paul closely. Paul was also looking at her, after which her friend ends herself. It seemed as if Paul had ended all three of them. The story goes on for 23 years and we come to 2018. Here we see a man named James whose wife and son's car died in an accident recently. Because of this, he was left alone. He runs a security shop, but he misses his family a lot. He is not getting over his grief. Now James goes to a hotel where he shows his birthday coupon. Although it was not his birthday today, the date on the coupon was 3 days earlier. But still, the hotel people accept his coupon and give him food for free. After this, when James comes home, his friend's daughter, whose name is Amanda, comes to meet him. Both share their grief with each other because today Amanda's dad and James's wife and son died. James also knows Amanda's mother, and now Amanda considers James to be her dad. She tells Paul that she was completely broken after her dad's death. But then I understood that this whole world is just a thought. It is not in reality. The truth is only in our thoughts. The thing about which we think a lot, we pay a lot of attention, that same thing happens to us. After saying this, Amanda leaves from there. The next morning, we see Amanda's mom. When she goes to her room, Amanda is not there. Mom goes to check her in the bathroom. Wherever Amanda is not there, a message is written on the mirror. The empty man made me do it. It means the empty man made me do this. But Amanda's mom doesn't understand it at all, so she calls James and the police. Then James starts investigating it. He gets an institute pamphlet from Amanda's room, behind which tulpa was written. So the next day he went to school and met Amanda's friend. When Amanda's friend is sitting in James's car, she sees a shadow there, which scares her a lot. Then she says that 2 days ago we all went to a pool with Amanda, where Amanda told us about the empty man, and said that he is a very old legend here. It means he doesn't live in reality, he just lives in people's thoughts. And those who believe in him see him in their thoughts, then he also talks to them stubbornly. Those who believe in the empty man worship him too, and he also fulfills their wishes according to them. And those people believe in him completely. Then her friend says that Amanda also said that in the evening, if you blow into an empty bottle lying on the bridge, then think about the empty man, then he will be included in your life. On the first day, you will only hear his voice. On the second day, you will see him. And on the third day, he will find you himself. Now, on Amanda's request, along with blowing into the bottle, we also thought about the empty man. After that, we heard a strange voice. And then the next day, I saw Amanda saying something in a friend's ear. Now, Amanda's friend, after seeing the address of all her other friends, leaves from here. James goes to all those friends' houses, but he doesn't find anyone. But at a friend's house, he finds the pamphlet of the same institute, which he also found at Amanda's house. After that, James goes to the same bridge where all those friends blew into the bottle and thinks about the empty man. James also finds an empty bottle here, which he also blows into and thinks about the empty man. But when he starts going, he doesn't hear any sound from under the bridge. So, he goes under the bridge through a hole and sees that all the bodies of Amanda's friends are there. Countless jinns also, because of Amanda's request, did everything with the bottle, they were all ended. Along with that, the same message was also written here, which was written on the glass of Amanda's washroom, that is, the empty man made widow. Now, James doesn't understand anything, and he tells this to the police. Now, Amanda's friend, who had told everything to James, also dies suddenly. And seeing all of them, it seemed as if they had ended themselves. But James doesn't think so. That's why he investigates this thing. He searches the same institute and tulpa on the internet. He finds out that the institute is an organization that is a part of a group that is, it is a cult. And they believe that if you pay attention to someone, if you think about it, that thing can be brought into reality. After reading all this, James goes to that institute where he is given a form to fill out, which every person who comes here has to fill. But James doesn't fill it and goes ahead. He sees the head of the institute who is giving speeches to people. And his words were exactly what Amanda had told James, in whose eyes he says that this is the message of the empty man. That is, he was also a believer of the empty man. After the speech, James meets the head, and he asks him about the empty man. The head tells him that he is a kind of power, and the empty man keeps fulfilling the desires of his followers until he completely believes in him. Now, James does not pay attention to these things and pays attention to finding Amanda, because he had not found out anything yet. He asks a girl about Amanda, but he can't give any information about her either. After that, James started looking for her all over the place. He saw some people sitting in one place who were looking at a black paper very carefully. At the same time, they were also listening to the recordings. But James doesn't understand what they are doing. He also went to a room where a lot of people were sitting on chairs and they were calling the empty man. But from this place, James is thrown out. Now, James found the same boy whom he had asked about Amanda a while ago. So, now he says that Amanda has been sent to another campus for training, which is in the jungle. And if you want to find her, go there. And it's better if you stay away from all these people because they are all very dangerous people. Now, James has to find his friend's daughter Amanda somehow. So he goes to the same jungle. He finds a cabin in which there were a lot of files lying. One of them was Amanda and James. But James's files are empty. James went to another room where a lot of video cassettes were lying. He plays one of them and starts watching. Here, some people were doing a strange kind of experiment on a man. After that, magic is also done on him. It seemed as if he was trying to bring someone inside that man. And then the next moment, he comes inside that man. Now, as soon as it gets dark, James doesn't hear a lot of voices. When he went to check, a lot of people were circling the fire, chanting mantras. James was looking at them carefully. And now the fire suddenly starts going towards the sky, which makes James a little nervous. But all those people had seen James. To end him, they start moving towards James. But he takes a car to save his life and runs away from here. He goes straight to the police station and tells the police about that organization. But no one believes him after that. That's why he goes to Amanda's mom. He tells her that Amanda is part of a cult group that believes in the empty man and worships him. That's when James gets a call and someone whistles in his ear. After hanging up the phone, James tells Amanda's mom that the cult people are very dangerous. They can do anything for the empty man. And they ended all those kids. Your life is in danger too. That's why I want to take you to a safe place. Saying this, James takes her with him. Actually, they loved each other, but could never tell each other. James leaves her in a hotel and tells her that you stay here, you can be safe here. Now when James was sleeping at night, he opened his eyes out of fear. He sees a shadow coming towards him. James tries to end him, but the shadow disappears. The next day, James again reaches outside the institute. He sees that the boy who had told him about Amanda is going somewhere with some people. James follows him. Those people come to a hospital. Then James also goes inside behind them. He sees that all those people are lying in front of a man who is lying on the bed and has been in a coma for many years. James does not understand anything. That's why when that boy comes out, James catches him. He beats him badly and asks, "Why did you send me to the jungle?" Then the boy told my group told me to go to that jungle. James asks about the man lying on the bed. Then the boy tells us that the empty man talks to us through that man. But James does not understand anything. That's why he came back to the institute the next day. He now goes to the place where all the files were kept. He finds file number 14 there, which was the most separate. And now as James opens this file, he is completely surprised because it was not anyone else's, but James's file, which had all the information about his family. And he had the same birthday coupon that he had used 3 days ago to eat free food. It was in James's picture, which left him completely surprised. But all this was out of his control. That's why he comes back to the same hospital. He looks at the coma man carefully. Then he goes to the reception and asks the lady who that man is. The woman says, "I don't know who he is. He has been in a coma for the past 23 years. And now when James goes to that man's room, he sees that Amanda is also here, who is taking care of that man. James asks him who this man is. Amanda says that the empty man chooses a person for himself in 500 years through whom the empty man talked to us. And for the past 23 years, the empty man has been talking to us through him. Because this is also his choice. This man was possessed by the empty man 23 years ago and was in his control. And since then, this is the means of communication with our empty man. James now calls Amanda's mom, but she refuses to recognize him. Now we find out that this coma man is Paul. We saw him at the beginning of the movie who went hiking with his 3 friends. Then Amanda tells James that his body is now completely weak. So now we need a new body for the empty man. That is, a new host, in which he can talk to his loved ones, fulfill their wishes whom we worship. And yes, for his new body, James, we chose you. The memories in your mind that you think are not in reality, but are completely false. Because we have made those memories for you ourselves. Nothing like this has ever happened to you in real life. Because we made your life too. Say that we have made your James character completely for the empty man. That's why my mom didn't recognize you. Because she doesn't know you. You never spent time with her. And what you thought that my mom and you love each other, that memory, I made it in your mind. Because the new host of Empty Man, he has such emotions, along with fear and embarrassment. It is very important to have such things. Because that body is perfect for the empty man, in which the empty man can fit. Because these emotions make that person strong. That's why that person can tolerate the empty man. And such a body is called Tulpa. And from now on, you are our new Tulpa. And now James starts to suffer. His mind goes completely to the place where 23 years ago, Paul was sitting in front of that skeleton. And now, as soon as he sees the empty man, he possesses James and goes inside him completely. And he controls him. But because of this, James becomes unconscious. When he comes to his senses, he goes to his house. He was completely convinced that I was no longer a human being, but I had become a Tulpa. That is the host of the empty man. And my new body, the Tulpa one, was born 3 days ago. Because I and my memories are made by that skeleton, which was all imaginary, He put a thought in my mind so that my body became capable of the empty man. And when I became like this, that is, tulpa, then the empty man finally went inside me. That is, now that the skeleton communicates with the empty man through James, James goes to the place where the skeleton was in a coma, shoots him, and ends him. As soon as this happens, all the people of the hospital bow down before James. That is, now that the skeleton will worship the empty man through James. And the empty man will end every person who thought of the empty man but did not believe him. She was afraid of him. The work of ending people has been done by the empty man since then. Now James's character became something like this. The enders of the empty man thought of putting James's character in their mind and then brought him into the world. Then they put memories in him so that he can become perfect for the empty man. Now when James's body is weak, then he will create someone in his mind for the host. And by bringing him into the world, he will make him through communication with the empty man. And his journey will always go on like this. And with this movie also ends here.